Bitcoin Q&A is back for another episode. Thank you for your patience while I set up in an undisclosed bunker somewhere between the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. I will leave you.
But closer to the Atlantic Ocean, right?
Perhaps. No, I moved my parents. I moved out of my parents' basement. We were
making so many sats on Zap.stream that Q brought his parents over from Iran and bought them a house on the East Coast.
Yes, exactly. I mean, look, your donations worked. Bitcoin has mooned. I'm now a trillionaire, and I own multiple homes just throughout the world. So this is what happens when you stack sats in Bitcoin. You get lovely couches like this. Like, you don't think this is a beautiful couch. This couch alone cost me like 6 Bitcoin.
Or is that a love seat?
It's a love seat. But it cost me like 8 Bitcoin. Actually, it was 12. No, 15.
All right.
Welcome back. We have
wait, do you want to tell everyone where we've been?
Yeah.
Stream so far. With the 8 Bitcoin, you couldn't crack internet for the last
Despite
5
spending
days.
12 Bitcoin on this love seat, I couldn't get internet for about 4 days in my undisclosed bunker preparing for nuclear war. And so finally, though, I was able to kidnap someone from Spectrum, put them in the back of my van and brought them to the bunker. I had to cover their face because I don't like people knowing how to get here. But held him hostage, found pictures of his family, and then eventually he took care of it and got me set up on the internet. So because of that, we're able to bring you a new live episode. Despite going through all that effort, though, it's been a slow week for news, man. Sure, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis got arrested in crypto land.
Got arrested? What are you talking about?
I know. They're being charged with securities fraud.
Are they?
Yeah.
I thought their latest thing was they stood up for their homeboy who
I just found out.
I didn't hear about this. He's in jail.
Do you know?
Yeah, Mattson went to prison. That's so sad. I can't believe, he turned out to be a terrible human. That's what I mean.
He's an awful person.
That's what I mean is sad. Yeah, it turns out he's a bad person. He was my favorite one on that show.
He was the best character. Like, absolutely the best character. But have you heard of this series Stoner Cats?
No.
So it's technically an animated like TV show, but it's just an NFT. Like that really is what it is. Like, you can't go on Netflix to watch it. It's an NFT. And Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher got involved, attached themselves as like star talent, but now they're being charged with securities fraud for helping shield this NFT.
Ashton Kutcher's from my hometown, and he comes back a lot.
That's all you've got to say about this.
That's all I've got to say about him. I mean, the securities fraud thing doesn't surprise me. I mean, they're not exact. Ashton Kutcher's like been early to some interesting projects, though. He's somewhat of an entrepreneur. I don't know.
No, he's a great investor.
He's a pretty good investor. I mean, I don't know about the crypto securities fraud thing, but that adds up. Checks out.
Well, the reason I wanted to specifically bring that up, and I'm going to pull the exact number because my source is the Milk Road, but 69,795 NFT projects out of the total of 73,257 NFT projects are actually worth 0 ETH. So
far,
over 95% of these NFT, this is for this, whatever, are literally useless.
Dude, no, my favorite is the counterparty NFTers, like the original kind of Bitcoin shitcoin NFT. Right. So these are like the OG Pepe's, like this whole community. It's the same thing. All these projects are worth basically nothing. There's a few of them that they trade around a small circle of like 200 dudes that live in a basement. And they all believe the market's going to come back. It's just a matter of catching the right bull market. There's like one wallet they use. It's called Free Wallet. It hasn't had a developer in like fucking 6 years. It's like the worst, like clunkiest wallet you've ever used. You have to download it and try it. It's so funny, dude. This whole community, believes with their whole heart and soul that this market for counterparty NFTs on Bitcoin is going to come back, despite ordinals, despite everything, and they're going to be millionaires one day.
I hope for their sake they're right, but if I've learned anything in my very short amount of time in this space, that all of that shit, even the 5% that's working, technically 4.8, less than 4.8% of them actually have any value whatsoever.
Well, they don't have longevity either. The ones that are working will be gone by next cycle. Guaranteed.
Exactly. Like, it's just a hype. It's like a momentum hype trade more than anything.
Dude, the funnier thing to look at is all these companies in 2020, I called it, saw it coming. All these companies start building out NFT branches. Kraken, Coinbase, Twitter, they all start implementing NFT infrastructure, hiring these massive teams, paying no mind to Bitcoin cycle theory or the fact that bull markets do have a top, and this is not a fucking super cycle, and we're not going to 200K. And then they're just stuck with all these people they hired. They had to let go like massive amounts of teams. They had all this sunken cost in
Coinbase
NFT infrastructure and platforms. They pretty much all they put the wraps on it, shuttered it up, let those people go. So massive losses. Someone needs to go back and figure out. I mean, it's got to be to the tune of billions of dollars raised and completely lost on these.
I mean, for me, the interesting thing is Coinbase being a publicly traded company, because every other company you listed is technically held in private markets. They don't necessarily, they can't get away with things, but they don't have to disclose as much as a Coinbase. And so specifically to NFTs, I don't want to talk about all the shit coins that they secretly get and pump and dump on retail. Like, that's a whole separate issue that I think they and a lot of other businesses are about to have a rude awakening on. But as far as NFTs goes and just that dynamic, watching it absolutely crater and fail, do you find a material difference between NFTs and a pure crypto token? And in the same vein as, like, I think you and I have had this conversation plenty around, crypto is not going away. Like, it will be reimagined in new forms. You will see new shit coins spun up in each bull market.
No, there's still essential oils. There's still snake oil out there. You know what I mean? Like, it's always going to be around.
So will NFTs also always be around? Or will we eventually stop this madness?
There's too much money and like mental retardation wrapped up in this industry for it to like, there's these NFTs, crypto tokens, you know, any way to basically take value from people and provide an exchange. Virtually nothing of value is going to be a lasting kind of scam. And there's no way really for the SEC or some governing agency to put wraps or controls on it without making extreme examples out of people like Ashton Kutcher. The SEC hasn't even met these degens yet. Like, you know, if you think these hex holders and even know who Ashton Kutcher is, you're mistaken. They need to go after Vitalik, basically. I mean, well, I don't know.
I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are not the first quote unquote crypto influencers to be getting in trouble. This has been a trend.
Lots of athletes, lots of NBA players.
For the last year, it's been this. Like, Shaq really famously got in trouble. Freaking Larry David is going to write the whole new season of Curb on his experience getting sued for being an FT actor.
Dude, is there a new season of Curb? Hold on, this is bigger news.
No, there is not. There is not a new season of Curb.
That show fell off when Cheryl left. That show kind of, you know, is a little bit hollow after that.
All right.
Last few seasons.
All right. I see whose team you're on, Team RFK.
I'm on. Yeah. I don't know, man. RFK's been interesting to me. He's kind of, I hate to say it, but he's kind of positioning himself a little bit as a victim in some cases. I mean, he realizes he's probably not going to win, and he's going after the DNC. Look, it is unfair. It's a rigged system, but he knew all this going in, man. He should have started. I don't know, maybe third party from the get-go, maybe a split ticket. But I
No.
don't like the constant, everything I hear from him lately has been, I'm kind of a, I've been maligned by the establishment, and it's just, I don't like that attitude. I want him to be future oriented all the time and to see past the bullshit, Not that I would vote. I mean,
I was
this
gonna
guy's not
say,
going to get me
like,
out
it's
of
not
bed
as
to
though
vote.
he's getting your vote anyways, but he'll dance for you.
Hey, yeah, dude, I met him. I have a funny story about him, actually. So I met him. I became friends with his campaign manager, and I actually got him to join Noster, Dennis Kucinich. And dude, we were on this yacht. We were on Michael Saylor's yacht in Miami, and there's
My
kind of
invite
like
must have
RFK's
gotten
been there a
lost in the
while.
mail.
Yeah, your invite got lost in the mail. My invite, I mean, I had like 3 or 4 invites, so I just took one, whatever. Walked in, and actually, you know what's funny? I was with Nolan, and they wouldn't let Nolan in. They're like,
That's
Nolan
amazing.
tried to talk. He tried to talk his way into the event. Like, dude, you're not on the list. And I was like, Nolan is gonna talk these people. He's gonna get in, but it's gonna take a minute. I was like, I'll see you inside, bud. And he did. He came. He was like 5 minutes behind me. He
That's
made his way in.
amazing.
But anyway, like we're on this boat, and RFK has been there for a while, and for whatever reason, he's like kind of off by his own. There's like this big shellfish kind of like table and like glass ice sculpture, and he's over there just like getting something to eat. You just hear this loud bang, and everyone's barefoot. It's a yacht, right? You gotta take off your shoes. You hear this loud bang, and this like ice and tray of water just like falls like a foot onto the table and spills water all over the deck of the boat. And like RFK's the only one there, and he just looks up and he's just like, "It wasn't me." Like he's just like, he just tried to like play it off, and he's the only one there, and everyone's feet are just like soaked for the rest of the night. Like,
So he lost 50 votes just in one night.
yeah. I was just like, dude, who else could it have been? Like,
I mean, like, it could have been no one. It could have just been
better.
like
It gets better. It gets better, dude. He goes on to give a speech. Yeah. He goes on to give a speech on his boat. He's already a little bit kind of hard to understand, right?
Right.
But he's giving a speech on his boat, and who comes up? We hear this like loud. It's almost like someone's running a lawnmower, like right outside of the boat. And it's fucking Daniel Prince and his kids pulling up on jet skis in the middle of his speech, just drowned out the whole thing, so no one could hear what he's saying. It's just classic Princey move. Just a perfect, yeah. Anyway, that's my RFK story.
That's amazing. So he definitely lost 50 votes in that one day.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Very, very interesting character. I don't know. I'm happy he's running and shaking things up. I'm happy about the truth telling. I'm happy he's like shedding light on some of the more nefarious parts of the government. And I believe he generally would shake things up. I just don't know if he's going to get, I don't know if he's going to get it done. I don't think he can get in there. I don't think they're going to let him in there.
No, they're not. They're absolutely not letting him in there. The fucked up part will be when not if Biden sort of excuses himself from the 2024 election, and then they force through a Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris or whoever they will just force through. That will be the infuriating part. It's not as much right now. Like, I'm kind of in your camp of, dude, RFK had a ton of momentum when he started his campaign, and then he's just kind of fallen off the map. He's not really building off of that momentum. Versus you look at someone like Vivek, who continues to build off of the momentum.
To be fair, they won't let him build off the momentum.
That's not true.
Like,
no one's stopping RFK. No one's stopping RFK.
They pull his videos offline all the time. I just mean the media is not giving him a shot, and we know this whole thing's controlled by the media.
Yeah, but I think too, like RFK's done.
We're probably the biggest show talking about RFK right now.
I mean, the podcast circuit is how Vivek and RFK have sort of like been able to bootstrap their campaigns. I don't see that strategy with RFK a whole lot anymore. And it might be salty because I've been trying to get him to come on Mark's podcast for a while. And then his like people are just not.
I can help you with that. He just He just went on Tim Dillon's podcast, and you know what happened? First time ever. I've been a long time listener of Tim Dillon, like one of the funniest people alive. But his podcast had a blackout in the middle of the interview, and they lost like a bunch of footage mysteriously.
Bullshit.
No, they did. Listen to it. You can hear him in the middle of the interview. They come back on, and he's like, "Yeah, well, we just lost like a half hour of tape. We just had a blackout. It's never happened in the history of the show. We thought it was an assassination attempt, like making jokes about it. But he had Cheryl on as well, so it was a really cool interview. I mean, they have a really interesting relationship dynamic because she's been outspokenly took the opposite position as him on some issues. But anyway, dude, we should get into the news of the day. We got this super awesome thumbnail that Tino made for us today, and what we wanted to talk about. The only news really happening today is we've got the Square CEO stepping down, and we've got Jack Dorsey stepping up. We don't know for how long. I don't know if it's like interim or full time. So I would caveat it with that. And this is not to say that there is, as a matter of fact, Bitcoin POS infrastructure coming to Square for merchants, integrated in their terminal. But it seems likely. Isn't this long overdue, Q?
So I want to separate the speculation versus like what we know. And we know that Dorsey's stepping as CEO. The other piece of information to kind of like maybe lead us to some speculative conclusions is the fact that in Block, Square, whatever you want to call its most recent earnings report, the Square division, which is what this business was founded off of originally, has now become the largest lagging sort of branch tentacle of this organization. And so
well, can you define that by a metric?
I
know the stocks sound bad. I know my calls expired worthless, but
no, hang on. Let me just give me a second while I look this up, but I'm going to keep talking you through this.
Because you're also talking about like you can't compare this to something like Spiral, a much smaller team that's largely
true, but there's a level.
Their biggest revenue driver. It's like
there's a level squad. No, because I think. Hang on, I'm trying to find the article.
I think if what you're saying is that the current CEO has not done anything to bolster the share price quarter after quarter, really. I mean, we're at the lowest. I believe the Block stock is the lowest it's been since 2018, something like that. I think the last I checked, it was like $49. Is that not right?
No, it is $49. Wow, it fell off. I was only looking at it last week. Man,
that's what I'm saying,
so
dude.
Smart for selling when I did.
Yeah, I had a bunch of it up in the 70s and 80s last. I think it was in January or something. And I was hoping, gonna roll out this wallet someday, and it was just gonna take off with Bitcoin. But I think it's just more tied to kind of fiat market dynamics for now. It's not as much, although they hold Bitcoin. How much Bitcoin do they hold? Look this up real quick. This is important. This is the most important part.
Okay, so
Block is the sixth biggest public company in terms of Bitcoin holdings. They've got over 8,000 Bitcoin. So I think it's still a good cycle bet, to be honest with you. If you've got to put a retirement into Bitcoin or something, I'd be buying up some MicroStrategy, some Hive, some Block.
So they also,
not financial advice.
Their main revenue at this point is Cash App, with over just under 2/3 of their revenue coming from Cash App
compared to POS.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep. And that is surprising because I was buying this stock in April, May 2020. So I was buying it from the POS standpoint. And then as Cash App started to blow up and then it started to hold Bitcoin, then it really took off. I think that Block is having a harder time than Meta with the rebrand, frankly. And I think a lot of this is coming down.
Oh, no. This rebrand's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's a nice.
No. I think.
How does this impact it at all? It's not the same. It's not a household brand in that way. And the transition from Square to Block is intuitive. It's almost as if it never happened.
Because
You think back,
to
it used to be called
investors,
Square. Who cares?
no, because
Yeah.
to Wall Street investors, the profitability of a crypto company has still not been proven, but the profitability of a POS like system, a processing system for payments, that's a business model that exists throughout
But you think,
public
how are
markets.
they a crypto company now? I mean, they
Because
barely dipped the big toe into Bitcoin in some ways.
true, but the expectation is that this company called itself Block in reference to blockchain. And so when investors hear that, their instinct, there is an emotional component of investing that is often not factored in. And it is this psyche of, well, Square's rebranding to Block, so Square, that product is no longer their priority. And now we even see it within the revenue that they don't make nearly as much money on this POS system as they do with Cash App. I don't think it's realistic to say they're just going to like cut this out completely. I think they're going to have to rework it for sure. And to your point, it will most likely be reworked to incorporate something like Bitcoin or Lightning Network payments within that system. But overall, the broader non-Bitcoin,
That I don't.
non-crypto investors are
Yeah.
looking at this as a crypto company now. Like they're
Okay.
not going to
I
look at it like
disagree
a
with
Bitcoin.
that. I've never considered the rebrand of Block to be about the blockchain. I think it's just like a weird obsession with geometric shapes and titles. But yeah, you might be right. The Spiral division was launched like around that time, as far as I know. It's only been around a couple of years. So, but here's the thing. I don't think Bitcoin in the short term is going to do anything for the stock price, really. Any integration with Bitcoin, the majority of their merchants are not going to use this tech for now. I mean, they have to incentivize the onboarding further than the incentives inherent in Bitcoin itself, because people don't understand those. We know people don't understand those.
Right.
They have to get their hands dirty with it. So you got to give 1-2% that you're saving on credit card fees back to the merchant. You got to do something there to get them to dip in the big toe and even accept Bitcoin. I've tried to explain this to local businesses. I mean, I'm not a Block representative, but I'm like, you should take Bitcoin. It would be good for your business. And many times, they don't see the incentive. They don't get it. They don't understand. Even the 3%, they're like, but it seems like then I'm holding an investment. I got to become a trader. They don't know what it is. So my thesis is short term, it's not going to do much to boost the price until we get to that Bitcoin price appreciation due to the halving. I mean, if that happens again, 6 to 18 months after the halving, I think, the rising tide lifts all boats. You're going to see MicroStrategy, Marathon, Coinbase, Hut 8, Block, Riot, Galaxy, Hive. These are some of, Bit Digital. These are some of the largest public Bitcoin holders, with the most thousands of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. You're going to see the prices appreciate because, or maybe that will even be reduced a little bit this year. If a spot ETF gets approved, you won't have these institutions with kind of misallocated capital and equities. Maybe they can turn around and grab the spot ETF instead. So I think we're forgetting something too. I mean, the current CEO, we don't know why she's stepping down or what's next. Square had an outage. Cash App had an outage in the last few weeks. It was like almost an entire day. I think the reporters were trying to point to I don't see that as a reason for getting rid of a CEO. I mean, maybe the comms could have been handled better, but I mean, those things happen. And frankly, with Cash App, it's like this is one of the most reliable exchanges in times of extreme price volatility. So I would definitely forgive a hiccup or two. So I don't really find that to be the reason, but I guess it's just worth saying we don't really know what's going on there. Maybe a full scale redirect is in order, but I think it would have something more to do with the like medium term kind of price stagnation of the stock and like slow decline.
I would probably say the same people who were trying to break into Tim Dillon's podcast studio when RFK was there are the same people who did the Cash App blackout.
Okay. Whoa. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice it. I guess I haven't been buying enough Bitcoin. I mean, I didn't even know that occurred. But
I rarely use Cash App now. I used to only use it exclusively.
oh, I love it. I love it. For my KYC stack, yeah, it's not bad. Not
I
bad at
mean, to
all.
be honest, like the fees on Strike aren't that much better anymore. Like Strike used to be real cheap, but it's not.
New market entrance, man. It's the classic trick. Classic trick. No, yeah, Strike is smooth. I think Cash App, I don't know. In comparing them, I genuinely use both. I like to send people Bitcoin via Strike.
I use both.
That
still.
interface feels a little clunky on Cash App.
I will say, like, what I'll do is, like, depending on what the price difference is between what the actual market price and what Strike will sell me Bitcoin at, I then take that dollar amount and then I go to Cash App, and based on the fee on Cash App, I'm like, okay, which one am I actually getting more Bitcoin for?
Well, it matters too. Are you
$20.
paying ACH? Or are you paying bank deposit? Or are you paying direct deposit? I want to try the new direct. I don't know if it's new, but I want to try direct deposit on Cash App because I was a direct deposit to Strike guy for a long time, and then they had custodian issues. Then I was like, this is too dicey. I stopped sending funds there, and
You just
Cash
got to
App's
get
been
your
so
limits
reliable
raised.
that I'm.
I have a my Strike limit is like $3,000 a week, so I can deposit.
Oh, dude.
I don't even need to do direct deposit on Strike. It's bad. It's so I like look at my bank account.
No.
Where's all my money? It's on Strike. Shit.
Yeah. The direct deposit doesn't affect your. You can do as much as you want.
No, I know, but at like fucking Bank of America, I can't. Bank of America is literally the bane of my existence.
The limits are interesting, but if you send an email, you can usually get your limits raised. I had the Strike engineers go to town for me. Got that.
I will shamelessly admit that when I did request my limit raised, I wrote in my email to them, "Hey, I work at Bitcoin Magazine and I want a higher limit," and they responded very quickly, like same day service.
It works, man. Yeah. I just went to the engineers directly. I was like, guys, I need help. And they raised the limit. But no, it's a good thing. But I think the important thing is like you need a diversity of exchanges to buy Bitcoin from. Like I would never go all in on Cash App or all in on Strike. It's like, oh man, I like to use Azteca. I like to use Bisq. I like to use Robosats. I like to mine. I like to buy for my friends. Like I like to collect Bitcoin in every way possible. And I know maybe some people can't afford or don't want to afford kind of the fee fluctuation there. And it's easier for them to find their cheapest bet, and more power to them. But in times of volatility, like you got to remember there are points when Bitcoin will move more than 10% in a day. Like half of those exchanges are going out. Like they're going down. They can't handle the volume. They can't handle the de facto DOS attack that is everyone just jumping on exchange to buy or sell.
Well, there's the other thing too, where like I hate the fact that Craig Wright was the one who did this research very recently, but it has been confirmed that of all of the paper Bitcoin that all exchanges across the world have promised or say they have, that leaves the total amount of Bitcoin somewhere in the tune of like 23 to 24 million total Bitcoin. So when the inevitable date comes for that bank run of everyone moving their Bitcoin off of Coinbase and Kraken and Cash App and Strike everywhere, there may be a lot of people who are left without Bitcoin that they thought they had.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I don't want to call out specific companies that haven't shown kind of bad intent or
Binance
been irresponsible. Yeah, well, you can call out Binance. I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of rehypothecation going on there, and there's no like their unwillingness to submit to. Yeah. I mean, you gotta
keep going.
The key here is just don't leave. Our show might as well just be about not leaving your Bitcoin on exchange. But no matter how many times we repeat it, the majority of like new entrants do it anyway. Until we make onboarding a little easier. So like to the point of optimism, I'm excited for Block's new wallet, BitKey. I think they're calling it BitKey. think there's already a product on the market called BitKey, but whatever. It's a cool wallet because it's open source. So we could create our own implementation of it. I think the current one that supposed to launch anytime now is actually made of stone. So I've played with it. The outside of it is actually, I don't know what kind of stone, but it kind of looks like a granite, you know, and it's got the biometrics, but they're optional. Nobody has to use them. So, you know, people were up in arms, myself included, about that. But it's optional, so you can turn it off. Yeah, pretty interesting little signing device. I cannot wait to try it. I think did we have a question today about hardware that we want to get into? Yes. How do hardware wallets enhance security for Bitcoin users? What are some popular options available on the market? Well, ideally, I mean, just real quickly, ideally, a hardware wallet is going to sever that connection between your Bitcoin kind of signing device and just like being eternally online. So it's different than a hot wallet or using your phone or using exchange. Gives you more security and optionality and reduces single points of failure. There are a variety of options. I'm a big cold card guy, but Seed Signer I've heard is great too, especially for assembling your own wallet with basically readily available parts on the market. It's a pretty cool idea in just about any country. Trezor people use. I really don't like to support companies that are, you know, monetizing off other crypto tokens and altcoins. It feels dirty, feels wrong, feels like it compromises my security. Now, I know that sometimes these companies, Trezor, Ledger, I mean, they're going to come out with like Bitcoin only products, yada, yada, but it's just not enough. It just feels too weird. They're trying to implement every chain in the world. I think it takes focus off where I need it, which is on Bitcoin security. You know, I have no interest in self-custodying or purchasing any ETH or anything like that. So for me, hardware wallets are everything. It's not an enhancement of security. It's the only secure way to store Bitcoin. I mean, you could destroy the hardware wallet, but eventually you're probably going to want an offline signing device that you can implement in your setup, you know, depending on what kind of multi-sig you had. I would say you got to use the hardware wallet in tandem with either passphrase or multi-sig. I mean, for the vast majority of people, yeah, just holding some Bitcoin on a hardware wallet offline, that's like better than 90% of the people out
just
there,
start
right?
there. It's
more secure than Q's hot wallet. It's
I mean, look, the 20 Bitcoin I've got in my iPhone 6 with passcode 1234 is more secure than the 18 Bitcoin I've left on Coinbase and the 104 Bitcoin I left on Cash App.
Maybe I would actually argue that Coinbase is probably more secure than your phone. You have to assume these devices are so fucking compromised.
You think that Coinbase would be more secure than my cell phone?
Yeah. For the average user, I mean, average, just midwit, pulling up, buying some Bitcoin, 100% will lose that shit if like day one they just try to kind of withdraw it to some hot wallet on their phone. God knows which one. You know what I mean? Like, who knows which wallet they're going to use? Who knows if they understand well how to use it or if they practice with smaller amounts first. I'm not recommending people leave their Bitcoin on exchange at all. I'm saying you need to like up your education very quickly about these things and test with small amounts. But yeah, there are cases where I would trust an institution more than an individual. Like there are members of my family that I'm just like, you're not fit to self-custody Bitcoin or own it ever.
I think that goes back to a point that you made though about we need these products to be much easier. Like mass adoption doesn't happen today. And a good
might not happen ever.
Well,
something we don't talk about enough.
One of the main reasons that's preventing it, in my opinion, is this almost like polar opposite ideas where on the one hand you have Bitcoiners who are screaming for like fierce independence and like everyone needs to be responsible for themselves, which in my opinion it's an unrealistic thing to ask of society and people.
100%.
And the other side of the coin is people who want to create these products that in turn will help serve people like members of your family who are not capable or fit to have a 24 word passphrase and understand how to sign into that through a multi-sig and send Bitcoin to a certain address in a certain way. Like,
Yeah,
it
I think
is
there's
not
levels to it, man.
complicated. It's not complicated to do this stuff, but it's not easy.
Yeah, it's simple. It's the problem is it's not one size fits all. When you go to a bank, that's it. We've been going to banks our whole life. Here, take my money. You take care of it. I don't want the responsibility. You can take half of it. You know what? If I need it all back tomorrow, you don't have to give it to me. Just take it, lend it out, make really risky bets, and if you fail, I'll subsidize your bailout. That's what we're doing. I mean, these are just unsecured loans. We're just giving to these banks. We've been doing that our whole life. It's a one-size-fits-all solution, insanely risky, insanely irresponsible. But you don't have to think. It's great. This is how, you don't have to think at all. It's just it's an out-of-the-box plug-and-play solution ready to go. The problem with Bitcoin self-custody is this goalpost moves. Things change. We have advancements in kind of security protocol and, hardware and software both. And you kind of got to keep up. Like, you have to revisit your security model. You're taking responsibility. Like, you got to be able to sleep at night. You got to find a way that's not too complicated. I mean, maybe you've got loved ones like a wife and kids. You can't just go put all your life savings in a hardware wallet that those guys are never going to know how to access. Like, you have to train other people too. There's just so much more to worry about when you take responsibility for your wealth. It's a completely unreasonable standard that everyone's going to use this stuff, which is sad. I mean, that's super sad. I mean, I think if we end up with 90 plus of Bitcoin being captured, 90 plus % of all like Bitcoin users being completely captured on custodians, banks, exchanges, etc. That to me is a failure. That is a complete market failure of what we set out to do. But to your point, we got to make it easier. The path has to be more straightforward. It's kind of like the problem that Nostr has. I'm going to be honest with you. We have a huge variety of apps and kind of ways to interact with this protocol. It overwhelms users. They're like, what the fuck? Primal, Iris, Damas, Zap. What the fuck?
I'm like barely on Nostr because it's such a pain to get these things to work. Like, Iris.
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not the point I make. It is not hard to get these things to work. The point I'm making is
it's very hard to get these things to work.
Jesus.
Zap.stream isn't even loading for me today.
You don't have internet.
What are you talking about?
Live in society. You barely have internet. You didn't have internet for 4 days. You're not fit for Nostr. You're not an online person. We might as well do the show by mail.
No, I'm a real person. That's the difference. I exist in the real world.
Yeah, true.
Ask yourselves, have you ever seen McShane in real life?
I'll tell you what, when people see me in real life, they have a lot less shit to talk than they do on the fucking internet. People they're very nice, they're very respectful, they're very eager to talk about Bitcoin. On the internet, all I get is to hate all day.
Yeah, I think part of it too is like people think you're taller than you are online, and then when they meet you, they're like, "Oh, he's not that tall."
I don't know about that. Yeah, it's not like I'm posing as some 6 foot. Like, I'm average.
I'm just resting.
First purchase with my Bitcoin, leg extension surgery. Get over that 6 foot hump. Go from 5'11" to 6. It's gonna be great.
Dude, I can't believe that was a real thing happening this year.
It's been happening for years. What do you mean?
It really picked up steam this year, though. It got picked up by some mainstream outlets of people actually having surgery to grow 6 inches.
Why not? 6 is a lot. That's going to be weird. You show up 6 inches taller.
You're 42. You're just wait.
Dude, that's what? Like that time. Scaramucci comes to one conference, comes back to another one. He's 5 inches taller. I'm like, what the fuck? You look down. He's wearing platform heels.
All right, let's keep this rolling because we only got about 15-ish minutes.
All right,
what is Bitcoin Faucet and how does it work?
What is Bitcoin Faucet? No articles. A Bitcoin Faucet is, I mean, historically, it's a place that gives out free Bitcoin. You can still find them today and kind of understand how they work by visiting kind of testnet faucets to get Bitcoin testnet coins. I remember these, dude. I remember back in the day, there used to be kind of online games you could play where you could discover Bitcoin in the game and actually kind of withdraw real Bitcoin, like dozens of them at once. There's all kind of weird ways. There's like casino games, all kinds of weird ways to win Bitcoin, essentially for free, back when it was virtually valueless. It'd be like
back then, not
back
so
then.
much
Today these don't exist anymore.
Like it's
like I was telling you before.
Sorry, real quick. Like I remember talking to Will Reeves about this and like the fold spin. Right now, the big prize is 1 Bitcoin, but he was talking to me about like, dude, I was doing this back in the day when like the big prize was 100 Bitcoin and like the smallest prize was half a Bitcoin. So
yeah, like, I mean, it's like that, but it's even easier. It's even easier than Fold or what's the other one, Lolly, and you can actually withdraw your Bitcoin. Like
I got my Bitcoin off Lolly. I can't get it off Fold though.
How long did it take you though?
It took a week.
Like
literally, it's
Bitcoin's instantaneous. What are we doing? If it takes more than like 2 seconds to withdraw my Bitcoin, I fucking hate your app. Like, it's instantaneous.
Are you talking how long? Like it was really cumbersome. It was not a simple.
I know. Yeah, they pretend suddenly they're not experts in Bitcoin. They don't know how to use Lightning. They don't know how to do a regular Bitcoin transactions because the funds aren't there. It's fake. You know what I mean? Everyone goes to withdraw once. Suddenly, oh wait, we're having issues. You know, it's going to take a couple weeks. Yeah. I don't recommend these games. There's no free lunch here. You got to earn your Bitcoin.
Let me ask you this.
In the past, they were fun though. The faucets were cool.
And I know there is a material difference, but from a more principled standpoint, is there a difference between these faucets and airdrops? Or is this just a version of an airdrop?
I mean, there's a difference in the way that they function. Usually faucets kind of continue into the future. Airdrops are kind of like event-driven marketing. Yeah. I mean, there might be some. Okay, so like if you hold certain, I guess NFTs or ordinals, a lot of times these like artists will airdrop more assets to you over time as a way to continue to provide value to their audience. So, I mean, that's one argument in the camp that like, oh, they're not scammers. It's a community. They continuously kind of have this back and forth of providing value and taking. You know, our mutual friend Tommy, he airdrops, I guess, NFTs to people all the time, people who have bought his projects. But there's not like a faucet where you can go get free Tommy art. You have to give Bitcoin up to get that. So yeah, they're different. I mean, we're not going to see a return of the Bitcoin faucet anytime soon. I guess the thing to remember is if you see one out there, it's a scam. That was my first use of this language learning models. You know, ChatGPT, etc. As I was hunting for faucets that were still active just for fun. And I was hunting for wallets that were like private keys that had been stored on the internet. And I actually found some, which was crazy. I found some, and these wallets were still in use and people still sent Bitcoin to them. And I could log in and sweep the Bitcoin when it comes. The problem is the reason I found them was these were wallets that were used historically to demonstrate how Bitcoin works. So it wasn't as if I exclusively found the keys of one other party. It was like, no, these are like known keys that people use to test transactions with each other. And all the funds that go there have long since been auto swept. But it was pretty cool discovery at first to generate these words using ChatGPT, import them. I think I used Blue Wallet on desktop or something. And suddenly I had a balance. I found Bitcoin. Pretty wild. But yeah. Next question.
Definitely missed out on the days of the faucet, but let us wrap today's episode up with the final question. Can you discuss the concept of Bitcoin dominance in the context of broader cryptocurrency market and its implications?
Sure. So Bitcoin's sitting at 530 billion market cap. So if you want to look at it through a fiat lens, I think the entire crypto market cap's about $1 trillion. So you've got is that right? So you've got
somewhere, give or take, maybe 200 billion.
Somewhere between 30 and 100,000 competing, in quotes, cryptocurrencies versus Bitcoin. And in aggregate, they don't even account for half of the total gameplay here. I mean, at this point, what you're talking about are two different assets. So Bitcoin dominance, I'm going to take a different stance on this. I think there's only Bitcoin dominance. Like, it's not in competition with everything. I think this value is always going to accrue on the longest and safest and most distributed chain. So in comparison with like a Ethereum, it's just there's no hope there of it kind of bootstrapping or surpassing Bitcoin somehow in market cap or being a place that people use.
But
go ahead.
The utility.
I mean, I was tweeting about this the other day. Like, utility is what you're saying is that there's subjective value in things.
It is such a subjective argument, and it's so silly because
No, utility is an objective argument. You're telling me why I should value things.
No. I actually disagree. I think it's subjective on the basis that it's telling you, hey, these things are important, but in fact, they could not be important to a different individual. They may only be important to you. For example, in the wilderness where I live, having things like an axe and a shovel and some chemicals to be able to bury bodies peacefully and safely are very important tools, and that is a utility that I need. You, on the other hand, live in civilization in the middle of a big city.
You've got this completely backwards. This is hilarious.
But you see the point I'm making, where based on our situation,
value is always subjective. There's no objective value in anything. So the point you're making is correct. I don't value.
But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that so this idea that utility matters to everyone that's a bullshit argument. That's why we have this conversation about financial privilege within.
Think about even in the context of public utilities, we value these things differently. You can't put a price on them, even though the government may. I've got a much bigger kind of garden and yard and use a lot more water than someone living in California who has kind of these mandates that they can't. So I value the public utility a little bit differently. I guess the way to point to it is a lot of this utility stuff is, I mean, this is the language of scammers who are trying to use complexity theater and featured money. I don't want money with I don't need my money to do that many things. I need it to be a store of value, a medium of exchange, a unit of account. I recognize that Bitcoin is not succeeding in all of those fronts now. I believe it will in the future, but I don't need it to be programmable. I don't want programmable money. I'm tired of my money changing under my feet and being devalued and depreciated and being, I don't need it to spin up new use cases. I need it to meet a coincidence of wants, and I need it to hold its value over a low time preference, like long time horizon. I don't need it to airdrop me NFTs.
No, see, I'm in the camp where I want steady 6% inflation year over year. I would like money deposited in my account on a bi-weekly or bi-weekly as in twice a week. But if I've got to settle every other week, I'll take it. I want these things in my money, and there should be a product for me. Oh, that's right. That's the US dollar.
No, it's CBDCs.
Soon.
CBDCs.
They're here. To your point though about Bitcoin dominance, just to go back to the original question here, there is it feeds into this whole conversation around Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, but crypto is not Bitcoin. And this separation of these two market segments, I think, is actually very important important for the growth of Bitcoin as a network, as its use cases expand. But
yeah, among institutions, they need to separate these things.
Yeah,
and also sever the ties with ETH. I don't know how ETH did not get classed as security. That's insane.
Well, because Vitalik is secretly working for the government. Like,
yeah, but I mean,
he snitched on the
I
Tornado
recognize
Pack.
first of all that it is de facto status to root for the downfall of some of these securities and cryptocurrencies.
Very.
We were having a great but we're having a great day here when Richard Hart got charged.
Oh, I literally drank a beer for the first time in like 2 years to celebrate.
Yeah, it's inherently status,
I'll shotgun a beer on camera if he goes to jail.
Oh yeah. I don't know where he blocked me. I mean, we can't. I'm like, let's talk now, scammer. Like he just blocked me. But I think the reason I root for these things to happen is not because I have a fear that they're going to outpace Bitcoin or outperform it in some way. Not at all. My fear is that people are losing their ass and being miseducated and misguided and taken advantage of. Now, there is a very good argument of like, well, how can you hold these kind of libertarian anarchist beliefs and then ask the government to go look out for the well-being of these people? That's fair. But at the same time, I mean, it's not right or good, and I just can't tolerate that in my circles. Like, I just can't have people using these cryptocurrencies thinking they're kind of on the cutting edge of investing in technology when in fact they're getting rugged hard.
Fair. I do think there's a level of like play stupid games, get stupid results, and some people just you need to put your hand on the stove. Like you need to burn your hand to know how to do this.
Absolutely.
I don't want to dox
Can't save everybody
who this is, but a more notable figure in the space. I remember having a very long conversation with him where he was explaining like he is like very anti the Hex Pulse Chain Richard Hart communities. And he was telling me the story about how like one of his best friends from back home called him up one day to say he got into crypto. He bought this cryptocurrency called Hex. Moons, sells it all, buys himself the Lamborghini, like he's fucking stoked. He made a shit ton of money on Hex, took all the money he made on Hex and then put it in Pulse Chain, and then has watched it all crash ever since. But at least he got the Lambo.
I don't know, man. I mean, good. I don't know. Get wrecked, nerds. Stop. You've heard. You can't be in this space without having heard the difference at least once. So I think we're doing our job well, and I think, yeah, like you said, people need to touch the stove. It's not our job to kind of police and look after these people, but I want like the path to light and good to be there, because there are more ways to do this stuff wrong than there are right. There are more pitfalls in this space than there are ways to safely kind of self-custody and securely operate within Bitcoin. And that's a problem. We need to reverse that trend. So, I mean, at the same time, the nefarious attackers are always going to outpace the solutions, right? There's always probably going to be more scammers than there are businesses and people trying to do light and good, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I think we've beat this to death. I think Bitcoin is dominant, and but there will always kind of be this
desire to go elsewhere.
Kind of just this scrum of cryptocurrencies and scammers on the outside of it, and it's always going to make it like embarrassing and hard to tell people that you're interested in Bitcoin until we get a couple cycles in and the prices becomes undeniable. You would think, sitting here with the most appreciating asset class in the world, that would already be in the case, but I think, as I shared earlier on the stream, I still get into arguments with people at restaurants who
you argue with people? No way.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I got in a pretty good one over the weekend with this couple who were. I mean, it was cool at first. We were having a really good conversation. We started talk about Bitcoin and El Salvador, and I was agreeing with them. Like, yeah, because a dictator, dicey human rights is best. Is disappearing 30,000 people into an open air prison off the streets with no trial. I mean, is that kosher? I don't know. You decide. I mean, we're not here to talk about that. I'm saying part of what he did with Bitcoin was good. And this, like, these people's faces were seeing red. They were so angry that Bitcoin mandated these poor Salvadorans had to use Bitcoin. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but you've never been to El Salvador. Like, I've been there. No one uses fucking Bitcoin. They laugh in your face if you ask to pay in Bitcoin. Like, no one's enforcing this law. These poor Salvadorans, at the very worst, all of them got exposed and know what Bitcoin is. And at the best, you know, very, very small minority of them are learning how to use it, educating themselves, and becoming financially self-sovereign. It's like the most selfless thing a government could do. It's literally taking the financial shackles off these people and saying, like, okay, go be free. You have the power to earn and economically, you know, improve yourself. So yeah, those people were wrong, terribly misinformed. Had to let them know.
That must have been a lovely dinner.
It was a great dinner. Like, they left eventually, and yeah, me and my friends.
And then it got really good.
Yeah. All right. So we have a couple more like quick news stories.
No, let's punt them to tomorrow.
No. I just want to shout out. Nostrasia has over 1,000 signups now. We were at 900 just last week. Now we have over 1,000 people coming and tuning in for Nostrasia in Tokyo and Hong Kong. Feel free to join us. Nostr.world if you wanna sign up. It's totally free. You don't need to give us any private information to sign up. You just need your Nostr public key. And then, little information about your demographic and your food preferences is helpful, just so I can order, the right food for everybody. But yeah, man, super excited. Conference is going to be huge. Come there. And if you can't come to Tokyo, join us online, or join us in Hong Kong, November 1st through 3rd. So that's my little show for Nostrasia. We could pump the other stories for tomorrow.
Cool beans. Ladies and gentlemen.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us again. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Like and subscribe.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.